Hi again then guys, and welcome to the third and final of our 3 Ferrari 458 Italia based replicas. And this particular replica is the more track focused of the 3, or the most track focused of the 3, the 458 Challenge. Now once again I haven't upgraded the bodywork because the actual 458 Challenge actually has virtually identical looks to the regular 458, it just has a twin exhaust instead, and obviously a livery. Now we can't do those two things, so we've got as close as we can. So, as far as the paint colour, it is available in a few colours. I've gone for red, and the particular red that I've gone for is Mark IV red, which actually comes from the Ford Mark IV race car. So it's a pretty expensive paint job to get, but if you can get it, it looks pretty good. It's kind of an almost unfinished undercoat kind of look, which seems appropriate to a race car. And I've also, as you can see, fitted the blank race tag on the side of the car, on the bonnet, etc. But that's optional, of course. And also yellow brakes. Once again, I've gone for stock rims because I think they suit the look of the car. They're the most authentic in this case. So we'll go over, of course, to the mechanical tuning garage first of all, and then take it, of course, out to a circuit to see how it compares to the other two replicas. Now, as with the other two builds, this is rounded off PP wise. It sits in between the other two at 580 PP. As far as power, we're running the press specs, if you will, because the car has a actual power of 562 horsepower, but it's sometimes quoted as 570 to round it off. So we've gone for that amount of horsepower, mainly for the PP advantage. And as far as tyres, this is the only one of the 3 that I've gone for racing softs for, because of course it is a pure track car. You don't have to go for those, of course, down to personal preference. We've gone for racing brakes. As far as suspension, we've got the ride height on 75 on the front, 85 on the rear. The reason why I've got a little bit higher on the rear is because this car, as I said before, naturally has its nose raised, so you don't want to have that kind of look from a track car. For the springs, we've increased them right up to 10 and 15, the dampers to 5, anti-roll we've left on 3, we've got a little bit of camber, partially for control, partially for the look of the car, 0.5 front and rear on that, neutral toe. We'll come back to the gearbox. Well, actually we might as well do it now because I wasn't able to find, like the 488 GTB unfortunately, the actual gears for this car. So considering it has the same power as the normal model, it does have a slightly shorter ratio gearbox, but again, I wasn't able to find those ratios. So again, if anyone does know those ratios, feel free to put those in the comments for the benefit of others. But at the moment, I've just gone for the stock box because it's about as close as we can get whilst being accurate. As far as the diff, we've got the initial torque on 10. You can, to be honest, go even lower than that, but it depends on preference. Acceleration and braking, we've got as high as possible. As far as power, we do have an oil change, of course. Then we've got the sports computer, race exhaust, manifold, cat, and intake tuning. And then we've reduced the power down to 79.6%. As far as the weight, this is unfortunately significantly heavier than the real car, and there's nothing we can do about that because we cannot get the weight down to the real car. So I've got stage 3 weight reduction, the carbon bonnet, which also gives you the bonnet pins, which is authentic to the car, window weight reduction, and what I chose to do instead, because this car weighs 1150 kilos in real life but we can't get that low, is I decided to use that disadvantage to just round it off by 100 kilos to 1250 with a 33 kilo ballast, then put that weight all the way to the front to improve its weight distribution. So that's it overall for this particular third build in terms of its replica. Not necessarily quite as accurate as the other two out of necessity, but still, the potential is there to be a good track car. So now let's finally take it out to another variation of Monza to see how it compares to those other two cars. It's actually quite cool to compare these 3 cars in their different replica styles and actually feel just how different they are. Considering that they're all based on the same car, it's pretty cool how different they do actually feel. This is definitely the most hardcore of the three. You can instantly feel that from the handling. It's much more focused, much more controlled, possibly even easier to drive, funnily enough, due to the lower weight. Speaking of the weight, you can definitely feel that it weighs significantly less as well, over 100 kilos less, and considering how much less power it has, it doesn't feel, especially over the 488 Replica, it doesn't feel slower. It obviously is overall in a straight line, but it just doesn't feel slower than those vehicles. So overall, if you decide to use this 458 Challenge Replica, or indeed any of them, I hope of course you find them fun and potentially competitive for racing as well. But that's it overall for this Replica build. So if you'd like to keep up with others like this, be sure to slap subscribe down below for that. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.